Welcome to Thrilling Tales of Adventure. I'm Mardell, and now we return to Black Bartlemy's Treasure by Geoffrey Farnall. Chapter 17. Telleth How an Eye Watched Me from the Dark. It is not my intention to chronicle all those minor happenings that befell us at this time, lest my narrative prove overlong and therefore tedious to the reader. Suffice it then that the fair weather foretold by Godby had set in, and day by day we stood on with a favoring wind. Nevertheless, despite calm weather and propitious gale, the disaffection among the crew waxed apace, by reason of the great black ship that dogged us, some holding her to be a bloody pirate, and others a phantom ship, foredooming us to destruction. As to myself, never was poor wretch in more woeful plight, for prisoned in the stifling hold, where no ray of kindly sun might ever penetrate, and void of all human fellowship, I became a prey to wild, unholy fancies, and a mind sickness bred of my brooding humors. My evil thoughts seemed to take on stealthy shapes that haunted the fetid gloom about me, shapes of horror and murder conjured up of my own vengeful imaginations. An evil time indeed this, of long uneasy sleepings, of hateful dreams and ill wakings, of sullen humors and a horror of all companionship, insomuch that when came Godby or Adam to supply my daily wants, I would hide myself until they should be gone. Thereafter, tossing feverishly upon my miserable bed, I would brood upon my wrongs, hugging to myself the thought of vengeance, and joying in the knowledge that every hour brought me the nearer its fulfillment. And now it was that I became possessed of an uneasy feeling that I was not alone, that beyond my crazy door was a thing soft breathing that lurked watchful-eyed in the gloom, hearkening for my smallest movement, and following on soundless feet whithersoever I went. This unease so grew upon me that when not lost in fevered sleep, I would lie with breath in check, listening to such sounds as reached me above the never-ceasing groaning of the vessel's labor, until the squeak and scutter of some rat hard by, or any unwanted rustling beyond the door, would bring me to an elbow in sweating panic. To combat the which sick fancies, it became my custom to steal up from my fetid hiding-place at dead of night, and to prowl soft-footed about the ship where none stirred save myself and the drowsy watch above deck. None the less, and go where I would, it seemed I was haunted still, that behind me lurked a nameless dread, a silent, unseen presence. Night after night, I roamed the ship thus, my fingers clenched on the knife in my girdle, my ears on the strain, and eyes that sought vainly every dark corner or patch of shadow. At last, on a night, as I crouched beside a gun on the 'tween decks, I espied of a sudden a shape, dim and impalpable seeming in the gloom, that flitted silently past me and up the ladder to the deck above. Up started I, knife in hand, but in my haste I stumbled over some obstacle and fell. But up the ladder I sprang in pursuit, out into moonlight, and hastening forward came face to face with Adam. "Ha, rogue!" I cried, and sprang at him with uplifted knife. But as I came, he stepped aside incredibly quick, thrusting out a foot, tripped me sprawling. "Easy, shipmate, easy," says he, thrusting a pistol under my nose. "Lord love you, Martin, what would you now?" "So you'll follow me, will you?" I panted. "You'll creep and crawl and spy on me, will you?" "Neither one nor t'other, Martin." "'Twas you climbed the gangway but now." "Not I, Martin, not I." And as I scowled up at him, I knew he spoke truth, and a new fear seized me. "And you saw no one, Adam, nothing, no shape that flitted up the ladder hitherwards, no sound to it?" "Never a thing, Martin, save yourself." "Why then," says I, clasping my temples, "why then I'm mad." "How so, comrade?" "Because I'm followed, I'm watched, spied upon, sleeping and waking." "Aye, but how do you know?" he questioned, stooping to peer at me. "I feel it. I've known it for days past, and tonight I saw it. I'm haunted, I tell you." "Who by, shipmate?" "Aye," I cried. "Who is it? What? 'Tis a thing that flits i' the dark, with never a sound, that watches and listens. It mounted the ladder yonder scarce a moment since, plain to my sight." Yet I saw nothing, Martin, and not a soul stirring save the watch forward, the steersman aft, and myself. "Why, then I'm verily mad," says I. "Not you, shipmate, not you. 'Tis not but the solitude and darkness. They take many a man that way. So had done with them, Martin. My lady's offer of employ yet holdeth good. So list with me as master's mate. Say but the word, and—" "No," says I fiercely. "Come what may, I take no service under an accursed Brandon." Saying which, I got me to my feet, and presently back to the haunted dark. Thus the days dragged, all unmarked by me, that took no more heed of time, for my fevered restlessness gave place to a heaviness, a growing inertia that gripped me, mind and body. Thus, when not lost in troubled sleep, I would lie motionless, staring dully at the dim flame of the lanthorn, or blinking sightless on the dark. This strange sickness, as hath been said, I then set down to no more than confinement, and my unwholesome situation, in the which supposition I was very far beside the mark, as you shall hear. For there now befell a thing that roused me from my apathy once and for all, and thereby saved me from miserably perishing, and others with me. And the manner of it thus. On a time as I lay twixt sleep and wake, my glance, and for no reason in the world, chanced upon that knot-hole in the opposite bulkhead, the which, as already told, I had wrought into the likeness of a great eye. Now, as I stared at it, the thing seemed all at once to grow instinct with life and to stare back at me. I continued to view it, dully enough, until little by little I became aware of something strange about it. And then, as I watched this, that was no more than a knothole, the thing winked at me. Thinking this but some wild fancy or a trick of the light, I lay still, watching it beneath my lowered lids, and thus I suddenly caught the glitter of the thing as it moved, and knew it for a very bright human eye that watched me through the knothole. Now, this may seem a very small matter in the telling, but to me at that moment, overwrought by my long sojourn in the dark, it was vastly otherwise. For maybe a full minute the eye stared at me, fixed and motionless, and with a piercing intensity, then suddenly was gone, and I lying there, my flesh a-tingle, my heart quick beating in a strange terror, so that I marveled to find myself so shaken. Leaping up in sudden fierce anger, I wrenched open the door and rushed forth, only to fall headlong over some obstacle, and lying there, bruised and dazed, heard the soft thud and scamper of rats in the dark hard by. So I got me back to my bunk, and lying there fell to a gloomy reflection, and the more I thought, the fiercer grew my anger that any should dare so to spy upon me. Thus it was, in one of my blackest humors, that God befound me when, having set down the victuals he had brought, he closed the crazy door and seated himself on the cask that served me as a chair, and bent to peer at me where I lay. "Martin," said he, speaking almost in a whisper, "be ye awake at last?" For answer I cursed him heartily, Fast, pal, says he, shaking his head. Look ye, Martin, 'tis in my mind the devil's aboard this ship. And what then? I demanded angrily. Am I a raree show to be peeped at and watched and spied upon? Nan, pal, watched, d'ye say? Aye, stared at through the knothole yonder a whiles by you or Penfeather. Never knowed there was a knothole, Martin, said he in the same hushed voice and staring at the thing. And as for Cap Madam, he harn't been anigh you these 2 days. But 'tis all one, pal, all one. This ship do be haunted. And as for us watching of you, Martin, who should it be but this here ghost as walketh the ship o' nights and makes away with good men? How do you mean? I questioned, reaching the ale he had brought. What talk is this of ghosts? What's yon? He whispered, starting up as a rustling sound sounded beyond the door. Mere rats, man. Lord love you, Martin, says he, glancing about him. 'Tis a chancy place, this. I don't know how you can abide it. I've known worse, said I. Then you don't believe in spectres, Martin, ghosts, pal, or yet phantoms? No, I don't. Well, Martin, there be strange talk among the crew as something as do haunt the 'tween decks. I've overheard some such, I nodded, but look ye, I've hunted the ship myself of late. And yet you've seen now to this thing, pal? No, what should I see? Who knows, Martin, but the sea aren't the land. And here on these wild wastes of waters, there's chancy things, beyond any man's wisdom, as any mariner. Oh, what's that? Says he under his breath and whipping around, knife in hand. 'Twas like a shoeless foot, Martin, creeping birder. 'Tis there again! Speaking, he tore open the door, and I saw his knife flash as he sprang into the darkness beyond. As for me, I quaffed my ale. Presently back he comes, claps to the door mighty careful, and sinking upon the upturned cask, mops at his brow. Content you, God be, says I, here be no ghosts. Soft, lad, speak soft, he whispered, for Lord love you, Martin, 'tis worse than ghosts, as I do fear. Dog bite me, pal, here's been black and bloody doings aboard us these last 2 nights. How so, Godby? I questioned, lowering my voice in turn as I met his look. I mean, lad, is this thing, call it ghost or what you will, has took 3 men these last 2 nights. There's Perks of Deptford, McLean as hails from Leith, and Living, a Cornishman. 3 good men, Martin, lost, vanished, gone. And oh, peril, with ne'er a mark or trace to tell how. Lost, do you mean overboard? No, Martin, I mean lost. And each of 'em, the middle watch, the sleepy hour, Martin, just afore dawn. And a fair night, pal, with a calm sea. These men vanish, and none to see 'em go. And all of 'em prime sailor men and trusty. The which, Martin, sets a cove to wondering who'll be next. But are you sure they are gone? Aye, Martin, we've sought 'em alow and aloft all over the ship, save only this hole of yourn, the which you might have known had you slept less. Have I slept so much, then? Pal, you've done little else since you came aboard, seemingly. All yesterday, as I do know, you slept and never stirred, nor took so much a bite or sup. And I know, because while we was a-turning out the hold, a-seeking and a-searching, I come and took a look at ye every now and then. Here's you a-lying like a dead man, but for your snoring. Here's a strange thing, and mighty strange, for until I came aboard, I was ever a wondrous light sleeper, Godby. Why, 'tis the stench of this place. Come aloft, take a mouthful of good sweet air, pal. You say you sought these men everywhere, even down here in the hold? Aye, alow and aloft, every buckhead and timber from trucks to keelson. And all this time I was asleep, Godby? "Aye, like a log, Martin," and breathing heavily. "Aye, so you did, pal, groaning, you might call it. Aye, fit to chill a man's good blood. And neither you nor Adam nor the others thought to search this dog hole of mine? Lord love you, no, Martin. How should 3 men hide here?" 3 men? Aye, true enough, says I, clasping my head to stay the rush and hurry of my thoughts. "Come aloft, pal, 'tis a fair evening, and the fine folk all a supping in the great cabin. Come into the air." "Yes," I nodded. "Yes, 'twill clear my head, and I must think, Godby, I must think. Reach me my doublet," says I, for now I felt myself all shivering as with cold. So Godby took up the garment where it lay and held it out to me, but all at once let it fall, and drawing back stood staring down at it, and all with never a word, whiles I sat crouched upon my bed, my head between my clenched fists, and my mind reeling beneath the growing horror of the thought that filled me. And now, even as this thought took dreadful shape and meaning, even as suspicion grew to certainty, I heard Godby grasp a breath, saw him reach a stealthy, fumbling hand behind him and open the door, and then, leaping backwards, he was swallowed in the dark, and with a hurry of stumbling feet, was gone. But I scarcely heeded his going or the manner of it, so stunned was I by the sudden realization of the terror that had haunted my ghastly slumbers and evil wakings, a terror that, if my dreadful speculations were true, was very real after all, a peril deadly and imminent, the truth of which I now and feverishly set myself to prove beyond all doubt, and reach for the lanthorn. Now, in doing so, my foot caught in the doublet lying where Godby had dropped it, and I picked it up out of the way. But as I lifted it into the light, I let it fall again, even as Godby had done, and now, staring down at it, felt my flesh suddenly a creep, for as it lay there at my feet, I saw upon one sleeve a great dark stain that smeared it up from wrist to elbow, the hideous stain of new spilt blood. Please join me next week for more action on the high seas on thrilling tales of adventure.